Alright, I'm thinking that I am live. Give me 1 second to get me some incense going on. Sorry that I'm small or dark, but that's just where I'm located at right now. So let me try to tag a few people in my video. Try to tag a few people in my video real fast, and I will be ready to take it away. It's going to take about 2 or 3 minutes. So make sure we got volume. Yep. We got volume. So now let me just tag a few people. Let me cut this down. Let me tag a few people. And what we're going to go over today pretty much is just the Bible being completely fulfilled. That's pretty much what we're going to go over today. And then I'm going to show just a few of my notes that I have. And tag whoever that y'all would like to tag also. Okay, there we go. Greetings, shalom, shalom. And y'all tag a few people. It's gonna be kind of hard for me to do this from this program. So I'm just gonna tag a few people. Then hopefully y'all can tag some more people. Pretty much I've been having an ongoing discussion with a few people, so hopefully this can show you what I'm talking about. So give me 1 second to share this, and then I'll get ready to start off. So all you, I was supposed to be having a conversation with a brother tonight. We have to cancel it. We had to cancel it and try to set it up Friday. But while I'm waiting, let me show you some of the things that I have. I'm waiting on this to log into my other accounts so I can tag them too. But let me show you some things that I have that I might use today. We got the Almighty Apocrypha. We got the Book of Josephus. We got the King James Version Bible, the Masoretic text. We have the Septuagint, which is older than the Masoretic text. I don't know if I'm going to go into my Enoch Jubilees of Jasher. Maybe I will. It's Hebrew literature. And then I have my old school Bible that's been passed on through my family for generations. It's a good reference Bible, and it's pretty old, as you can tell. It's been passed down throughout the lineage, great grandma, stuff like that. So I was able to get it. But I don't know what's taking so long for me to log out on this account, and I don't want to have everybody waiting. So let's get into it. Let's talk about where everybody is pretty much getting wrong. And right now I won't be able to see your comments until my phone stop logging out. So I won't be able to see your comments right now. But let's get into where everybody or what everybody is getting wrong. And when I mean everybody, I'm talking about from Hebrew Israelites to Christians to atheists and etc. Because they don't really understand or comprehend per se what the Bible actually teaches. They then took these historical documents and they have tried to make them be about something that it is not. I'm just going to restart my phone. Forget it. Try to make it be about something that it is not, and that's why we have the confusion that we have today. So what I'm trying to do today, y'all know I have the full preterist view, and I also believe in the kingdom. So what I'm trying to do today, I'm trying to make it a little bit more plainly what the Bible is actually teaching. So all things have been fulfilled. Y'all know I say it. That's what I say. That's what I believe. So first thing first, I want to go to the scripture to verify. I want to go to 2 scriptures to verify. First, let's get a little Tanakh action. Okay? We're going to get Tanakh action. And every time I look at these scriptures, I see something different. So let's go ahead and let's hit what we already have. This is not out of the Septuagint. I don't know if I have a Septuagint on here. So I would read it. I'm going to read it from the Masoretic text, what we call the King James Version first. And then I'm going to maybe wrap around with the Septuagint. But eventually, I'm just going to be doing Septuagint primarily because that's where Christ and the disciples quoted from. But Daniel 7:7, it says, after this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So now, y'all see, this is the title that they have now, talking about the Ancient of Days, right? So now, during this fourth beast, during this fourth empire, from Daniel's timeline, when Daniel was on earth, when he was in the Babylonian captivity, he was able to see four beasts, as well as King Nebuchadnezzar was able to see the statue. So, let's read exactly what it says. 7 and 9. I beheld, till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne like the fiery flame, and his will as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. Now, this is the point. The judgment was set. Sorry, let me try to highlight it. The judgment was set, and the books were open. So, hold on. My phone logged back in now. It's back on now. So let me try to get back on Facebook. Maybe it acts better now. Let's keep this party going. Alright, so now, this is what we have. It says, the judgment was set and the books were open. So, by default, this is during what? This is during the fourth beast. During the fourth beast, the judgment was set and the books were open. So, during the fourth beast, this is what's going on. I think it's Revelation 20. Revelation 20 and right here. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were open. And another book, so this is a lot of books, were open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of the things which were written in the books according to their works. So, we have a great white throne, and he that sat upon it, whose face the earth and heaven fled away. This would be heaven and earth being quote unquote destroyed. And there was found no place for them. And then he saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. So who was sitting in that great white throne? God. And the books were open, and another book was open, which is the book of life. So, according to Daniel, chapter 7, verse 10, the judgment being set and the books being open has to occur during the fourth beast. Okay, so the fourth beast is Rome. The fourth beast is Rome. So now, let's do some digging. Let's do some digging real fast. Let's do some digging real fast. Make sure I'm on. Okay. I'm going to find something first. I'm going to Google. When was the Roman Empire destroyed? Okay. When was the Roman Empire destroyed? So, this is what we have here. I'm just going to show y'all real fast what the Bible teaches. So, if my internet speeds up. Alright, let's see what we have here. Let's see. Let's see if we have the destruction. Okay, so we have in 476 CE, Romulus, the last of the Roman emperors in the West, was overthrown by the Germanic leader Odoacer, who became the first barbarian to rule Rome. So let's see here, 476. Let's see what he says about Christianity. By approving Christianity, the Roman state directly undermined its religious tradition. Finally, by this time, Romans considered their emperor a god, but the Christian belief in one God, who was not the emperor, weakened the authority and credibility of the emperor. So that's, in other words, it's saying Christianity was fighting against Rome. I want to see the end of the Roman Empire. That's what I want. Let's see here. All right, so we have it right here. I just want everybody to look at it. In 476 AD, that Odoacer, leader of the barbarian mercenaries in the Roman army, overthrew Emperor Romulus Augustulus and installed himself as king of Italy. The Roman Empire in the West had come to an end. However, the Eastern Empire, ruled from Constantinople, continued for another 1,000 years. It was not until 1453 when Mehmed II captured Constantinople that was the Byzantine Empire, as it became known, ceased to exist. So, we have year 1453, we have 476, when Western Rome stopped, and then we know Rome split up, and then we have 1453 when Eastern Rome split up. Well, when Eastern Rome was conquered. So, by default, once again, by default, by historical accounts, Daniel 7 and Revelation 20 could not have occurred after 1453. So, once again, we are in year 2019. So, by logic, if you want to say that the Bible wasn't talking about biblical Rome, by historical accounts, Daniel 7 and Revelation 20 had to occur by year 1453, which was 800, 700 years ago, by using historical accounts. So, now, and I'm going to touch on your second Ezra 6:9 also. I'll touch on that too. So now, I want everybody to just listen real fast. Y'all see, this is on YouTube. You can YouTube it yourself. It's called The Siege of Jerusalem, 70 AD. Romans at the Gate. So, I want everybody to listen to what it says.
The siege of Jerusalem was a massive military endeavor the likes of which had not been seen since the fall of Carthage 2 centuries earlier. Starting in April of 70 AD and lasting nearly 5 months, the battle would be a brutal, no-holds-barred
lasting, let's play it again. Let's play it again.
70 AD and lasting nearly 5 months.
Lasting nearly 5. Let's one more time. One more time. Let's play it. Let's listen.
Jerusalem was a massive military endeavor, the likes of which had not been seen since the fall of Carthage 2 centuries earlier. Starting in April of 70 AD and lasting nearly 5 months, the battle would be a brutal.
Okay, so starting in the middle of April, lasting 5 months. So now, let's go to Scripture now. Let's go to Scripture. Because people, they're not going to break this down to you. They're going to tell you what they want you to believe. So we're going to go to Scripture. Hold on, let me go here. Bam. Okay, so let's go to Revelation real fast. And let's see if we can find, let me open my Bible real fast, because I can get to it quicker before I get to it on Eastward. Let's see here. Revelation 9:5. Okay. Revelation chapter 9, verse 5. Let's see what it says. And to them, we just can start at verse 3. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. And we can actually go over that later also. And unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And let's read what it says. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of scorpions when he striketh a man. See, this is what the Most High does, okay? This isn't my doctrine. This is nobody's doctrine. This is what the Most High does. You see, we have people like, and I'm going to call out tonight, Libel Israel. He's trying to persuade you all that this does not have to do with the other. So, let's read it. You can call it a coincidence, but I'm going to keep going. So it says, but they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. So these locusts that came out of the smoke had to torture those Israelites that did not have the seal of God in their foreheads for 5 months. So now, let's go right back to some more historical evidence, and let's play it again.
Earlier. Starting in April of 70 AD and lasting nearly 5 months, the battle would be a brutal, no-holds-barred brawl fought over every inch of the city. At stake was the success of the Great Revolt in Judea and the survival of the Jewish people. Roman involvement in Judea first began in 63 BC, when Pompey the Great was drawn into a Jewish confidence or respect that now spread to the entire region. Jerusalem reinforcements soon arrived, further incensed the situation by plundering southwest Jerusalem and killing 3,600 people. As the situation escalated, reinforcements soon arrived from Caesarea, only to be driven out by a rebellion that now spread to the entire region. Jerusalem was taken by Jewish rebels, while Roman strongholds were eliminated in Judea and Perea. Roman efforts to combat the uprising were led by Vespasian and his son Titus, under orders from the Emperor Nero. The campaign season of 67 AD saw Vespasian advance south from India.
So now, if y'all don't see all of this fire throughout Judea, Samaria, Idumea, because don't forget, Idumea had a prophecy against them also. You know, the one with Basra. Who's coming from Basra with his garments dyed in blood? So, Idumea had a prophecy against them. Judea had a prophecy against them. Then you got Samaria, and you got all of the other places, Galilee, and etc., that was going through all of this fire and destruction from the Roman army. So hopefully we're trying to see, or we're trying to show, or we understand that fire described in Revelation actually was literal fire. But now, let's go to a statement that Christ made, and then we're going to continue to dig in this information. So, let's go to Luke. Let's go to Luke. Everybody has Luke in their Bibles, and we're going to read 21, right? And let's see what Luke is talking about. It says, let me make sure that I'm on the right screen. I am. So now it says, Luke 21 and 20. It says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. So, what is this about? This seems like, well, this is actually about the fourth beast, which was Rome, coming into Jerusalem, Judea, for war. So now, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, this is the Roman army under the fourth beast, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Why? For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So Christ said, during that siege from the fourth beast, Roman Empire, during that siege is classified as the days of vengeance. And what happens, Christ, what did you say happened in those days of vengeance? All things which are written may be fulfilled. So, there was not a New Testament. There was only a Torah and the Tanakh when Christ made this statement. So Christ said during that days of vengeance, when the fourth beast was coming to siege Jerusalem, when the fourth beast was coming to siege Jerusalem, those be the days that all things which are written would be fulfilled. So now, look as he continues to talk about it. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck. Yeah, I said the New Testament wasn't written yet. So I literally just said that. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Why woe unto them? For there should be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. Okay, Christ, what else is going to happen? And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This is about the Roman army coming in, the fourth beast coming in to destroy Jerusalem. So now, let's get right back to Daniel 7. Let's get right back to Daniel 7. Let's keep it in context. So let's get back to Daniel 7. Okay? We have, let me find Daniel 7 once again. Daniel 7, and it says, the judgment was set, and the books were open. The judgment was set, and the books were open. Guess what? Guess what? This was written. Christ said everything written would be fulfilled at that time. So this in Daniel was written. So according to Christ, this had to be fulfilled at that time. And guess what? Jerusalem being destroyed by Rome is called what? Judgment. It's called judgment. So that judgment was set. That's the Roman army. The books were open. Him judging the dead. So what else has to happen? Well, then we have the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. So now we have the judgment being set, the books being opened, and now we have the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. So now, let's go see if we can find that. We go right back to Luke. Luke 21, 22. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. And they should be led, and they should fall by the edge of the sword, and should be led away captive. So this is the judgment. So now, what do we got to see now? The Son of Man coming in the clouds. So now, let's see. You go to Luke 21, 27. And then, well, let's read it all in context, just in case people want to get out of context. So then we got until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming to the earth. What was the scorpion supposed to do? The locusts was supposed to sting like scorpions. They wasn't supposed to kill the men. They were just supposed to torment them for 5 months. So what's happening right here? Men's hearts failing them for fear and looking after those things which are coming on the earth. They are being tormented from the things that the Roman army is doing. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Christ just pointed right back to Daniel. See, in Matthew 24, let's go to the parallel text real fast. Let's go to Matthew 24. Matthew 24, parallel text. And we're going to go right back to Luke. Matthew 24 and 15, he says right here, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whosoever readeth, let him understand. So he just took the disciples right back to Daniel. So once you go to Luke 21, the same parallel text about them fleeing into the mountains, you have it right here, Luke 21 and 20. 21 and 21, then let those which are in Judea flee to the mountains. Parallel text. What did he do? He took them right back to Daniel. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. What does Daniel 7 say? Daniel 7 says, during the fourth beast, the judgment was going to be set, and the books were going to be opened. And what's going to happen? One like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven to the Ancient of Days. So he took them right back to Daniel. So once you read these prophecies, you're supposed to go right back to Daniel, just like he did. But now, let's keep reading. This is Christ's second coming that people are trying to teach y'all that's in the future. Once again, this is Christ's second coming where people are trying to teach y'all is in the future. No, it happened around the destruction of the temple. So now, let's keep reading. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. And look what happened. 29. And he spake to them a parable. Let's listen to this parable. Behold, the fig trees and all the trees, when they shoot forth, ye see and know your own selves that summer is now not at hand. So once again, the parable was, once you see fig trees and all trees begin to shoot forth, begin to sprout up, that is a sign that summer is near. So verse 31, so likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, what things? What things should we see come to pass? Jerusalem being compassed with armies, them falling by the edge of the sword, being led away captive, and also these other signs that they asked for. Take heed that no man should deceive you. Wars and rumors of wars, commotions, nation rises against nation, famines and pestilences in diverse places, them delivering them disciples up to the synagogues. All of those things, when they see that begin to take place, because he's talking to the disciples, not you or me, he's talking to the disciples. He said, once you see these things take place, know ye that the kingdom of God is not at hand. So just like you see trees and figs sprouting up, you know summer is near. When you see these things occur, you know the kingdom is near. Now look what he says in verse 32. Verily I say unto you. Verily I say unto you. You. Who is he talking to? Who is he talking to, this you right here? Because for some reason, we want to make it seem like he's talking to us. So, let's see who he's talking to in this you. Verse 5, and as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which ye behold, the days will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. That's the destruction of the temple, 70 AD, by the fourth beast, the Roman armies. And look, and they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? So who was the they? Who was he talking to? The disciples. So when he said, verily I say unto you, who was he talking to? The disciples. And we can go into the other, I think it's Mark, and it shows you exactly who was there. We'll do it in just a second. This generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. So now, let's see if we can play with generation. Generation there says, Jaena, a generation by implication, an age, the period or the persons, age, generation, nation, time. So by implication, it is a age. So he told them, this age, the age that y'all live in, this age where all people that's speaking in front of me was born under, this time period will not pass away till all be fulfilled. So that includes his second coming. So now we can go to Mark 13 just to see exactly who he was talking to. See thou these great buildings, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he said upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple, Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately. So that's who the you is. The you is Peter, James, John, and Andrew. And he told Peter, James, John, and Andrew all of those things was going to happen before their generation. Mark 13 says the same thing. Let's show you. Mark 13 and 26. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory. Verse 30, verily I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. So Christ told them in different accounts. You got the Matthew account, you got Mark account, and you got Luke account, all saying the same thing. Christ was telling them that their generation would not pass before everything he said was fulfilled. Not some things, not the things beginning. He said all things will be fulfilled. And in Luke 21, he went over and beyond and said all things written was going to be fulfilled during the destruction of the temple. Once again, it's right here. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So now, what people is looking for in Revelation, they don't understand. The book of Revelation itself is about the events that led up to 70 AD. So, we have it right here. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. You go to Revelation, chapter 11, verse 2. But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city they shall tread underfoot 42 months. So, what did it say in Revelation? The Gentiles would tread the holy city underfoot 42 months. What did it say in Luke? Luke 21. Luke 21 says, Luke 21 and 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captives into all nations. And Jerusalem, what's the holy city? The holy city is Jerusalem. What should happen to Jerusalem? Shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. What did Revelation 11 say? What did Revelation 11 say? The holy city. What is the holy city? Jerusalem. What they would do? They would tread it underfoot 42 months. What did Luke say? Luke 21. Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Before Christ died, he called it the time of the Gentiles. When Christ died and went to heaven, he said, the Father gave him the revelation. He then said 42 months. So how long did the siege occur? How long did the whole siege occur dealing with Rome? About 42 months. So, once again, let's keep paralleling, because people don't understand that Revelation, the book of Revelation, with Christ's second coming, the judgment, great white throne judgment, what Daniel 7 said had to happen under the fourth beast, and we all know the fourth beast was Rome. So, before we go to my next source, I also want to go to Daniel, because once again, Christ pulled from Daniel. So Daniel pretty much has all of this stuff. So once you go to Daniel's 70 weeks, what do you have? In verse 26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come, who came? Rome. Shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war. So Daniel, sir, the siege of when they got inside, it took 5 months to siege them. They started surrounding Jerusalem for 3.5 years before they even. In fact, I'm going to go into it anyway. There's no need to even me to answer it, because I'm going to go more into detail about it. So just know the 5 months was exactly how long it took them to actually get inside. See, once you do a war, they don't go straight inside the city and straight inside the temple. No, it takes time. Israel just didn't lay down like a little roaches and let them happen. No, Israel fought back. They had to surround Jerusalem. They had to encompass them. They had to keep them in. They had to starve them out. They had to make sure they didn't have no running water. This stuff took 3.5 years. We're talking about the city of Jerusalem, one of the most prized cities in the habitable earth in the first century. So they had some supplies. They wasn't completely empty, and no, Rome wasn't completely able to go in 5 months. That's why they couldn't kill them. They tormented them. They served them. But I don't need to talk about that. There's no need. I'm pulling straight history, so it's no need for me to even say anything. I don't have nothing to argue about. I'm showing everything that I'm saying with scriptures, and I'm finna go in history and finish showing it. So now, the city and the sanctuary was supposed to be destroyed with a war. This is a fourth beast war. So what war? And I like it over here. I think it says it over here. Once you go over here to a little commentary, it says, by the prince Titus, the son of Vespasian, is plainly attended. And the people of the prince are no other than the Romans, who, according to the prophecy, destroyed the sanctuary, the holy temple, the holy place or temple, as a flood swept away all, till the total destruction of the obstinate people finished the war. I mean, and that's a commentary. I didn't even have to do that. That's the commentary that they have. You don't even need the commentary that they have, because it literally says it right here. The end of the war, desolations are determined. So, what war can this be in? What war was the city destroyed and the sanctuary destroyed? You have 4 beasts in Daniel. You have Babylon. You have Medo-Persia. You have Grecian, and you have Roman. This is the only beast that Daniel saw. Daniel only saw 4 beasts. So, within those 4 beasts, when did this 70 weeks prophecy occur? When the city and the sanctuary was destroyed by a war. 70 AD. You can't get around it. That's why Christ was pulling from Daniel, telling them about the end of the age. So there's no way to get around it. They taught y'all that this was about our future. It's because they don't like history. They try to tell you to stay away from Roman history, stay away from the Grecian history, and they want you to believe them just because they say it. No, that's not how the Most High works. The Most High has always left records for people. Always. Not just Israel. Throughout all the world, the Most High made sure that history always was left so people could find out the truth. That's what the Most High did. That's part of the Most High's kingdom, so people won't walk around being ignorant. So, but now, let's go into my PDF that I created now. Let's go into my PDF and let's talk more about some of these misconceptions that we have. I'm just going to read this statement, and we can find some of this on William Bell's page. We can find some of this on Mr. Ryan's page and Mr. Dunn's page. But I'm just going to read this, and then I'm going to go into some more of this information and prophecy. So now, many Christians will be shocked to know that the Bible says nothing about the end of the world, physically speaking. In other words, most Christians are unfamiliar with the Jewish apocalyptic style of writing of the Old Testament prophets. Not only are Christians confused about that, but so are my Hebrew Israelite brothers. They don't understand prophetic literature. For some reason, they think that the Bible was created by Americans, so they try to read the Bible from the American point of view, which it does not work. Their language had allegories, idioms, symbolic from their culture. But anyway, they approach the Bible, it says it right here, not as if it were written to a specific people and culture, ignoring what we call audience relevances, but as though it was penned in our own generation and time. This is especially true with the end of the world eschatology. But now, let's see if we can talk more about this end of the world thing. Let's go up here. Let's see where we can go. I want to go to right here. Let's see how this looks. Okay. Give me 1 second to find it. All right, so now let's go through some of these seals, okay? What seal did I start with? What seal did I start with? Okay, these are the trumpets. The trumpets first. Okay, I went through the first and second trumpet. Let's just go through a little history. Okay, so now, before I start here, I want to address real fast. But of that day and hour knoweth no man. So when Christ made, and sorry y'all, let me go to Matthew 24 real fast, and then I'm gonna go right back to where I was at, because like this ain't something that people say all the time. So now, like Matthew 24. So let's go to Matthew real fast. Matthew 24 and 36. See, this is their when they don't want to believe Christ, or when it's unbelievable what Christ said, or they can't believe it, or they never really heard this before, or they try to make up different things. And not saying you particular brother, but this is exactly what you're doing. I prove what Christ said and we don't like it. So now we're trying to find a way to contradict Christ. So now this is what they pull. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So there's so many things to disprove what this is saying. Well, not disprove what this is saying, but disprove what you think this is saying. So now, but of that day and hour knoweth no man. So once you go right back to verse 34, right here, he said, this generation shall not pass away till all these things be fulfilled. So, did he tell them the day and hour? No. Did he tell them the generation? Yes. What did they ask for? They asked for signs. So, they wanted to know what to look for these things. So, they asked for signs. So, he goes on to tell them that their generation will not pass till all be fulfilled. So, he did not tell them the day or the hour, but he did tell them the generation, because he knew the generation. How did he know the generation? How did Christ know the generation? Because Christ knew the generation just because of this right here. Malachi 4 and 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the before the coming great and dreadful day of the Lord. So they sent, the Most High said, I'm going to send Elijah before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. So now, can we go to, I think Matthew 11, 13, 11. Verily I say unto you, among them that are born of women, there hath not risen a greater than John the Baptist. Notwithstanding, he is the least in the kingdom of heaven. He that is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. For all the prophets and law prophesied unto John. And if ye receive it, this is Elias, which was for to come. So, John the Baptist was, once again, Malachi 4 and 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah. So this is Elias right here. Before the coming and great and dreadful day of the Lord, which was the Roman Empire destroying Jerusalem. But anyway, so they knew which generation Elijah came. And according to Christ, Elijah had to come before, not thousands of years, but before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. So, what generation did the Lord come? First century. What generation did Christ come? Did John the Baptist come? First century generation. So, what does Malachi say? Elijah must come first. He did. Before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. He did. And then the Lord also came in that same generation to warn all of the disciples or all of those people that was willing to get under the kingdom what was to occur. Just like the Most High always sent prophets before destruction occurred. That's what Christ did. He prophesied to them about the destruction. Just like it happened through every captivity. But the point is, they knew the generation what to look for. They just didn't know the day or the hour. But then if we want to get really into detail with it, not knowing the day or the hour is another Jewish idiom dealing with the Feast of Trumpets. So what he told them are the Feast of Trumpets is what we call, once again, let's go there. The Feast of Trumpets, according to the Israelites, the Feast of Trumpets was the unknown day. And the Feast of Trumpets, let's pull it. Daniel chapter 7. The Feast of Trumpets was also called Judgment Day. See, a lot of people don't know their Hebrewic culture, their Hebrewic idioms, the real point behind the Hebrewic feast. See, a lot of people don't know that. They just think the Most High got people doing stuff just to do it. So now, and I can show you that if you want to see it, but it was the Feast of Trumpets was called the Judgment Day. It was called the Unknown Day. It was also called the Day of the Books. It was the day that the books were open, and it was also called the Marriage Supper Day. This is so anything in the Bible you see about the marriage supper, the Unknown Day, Judgment Day, books being open. It all deals with Feast of Trumpets. So, what Christ was actually saying, let's go back to Matthew 24. This is what Christ was actually saying. Christ was actually saying, if you want to be, get scholarly, I don't like getting scholarly because people think it's boring. So, I like just doing plain grammar. But this is exactly what Christ was saying right here. When the Feast of Trumpets will be fulfilled, only my Father knows. That's what he was saying. Christ was telling them that Feast of Trumpets was going to be fulfilled because all this is about the Feast of Trumpets being fulfilled. That's why he has there's so much stuff I can get into. Let me see. You got the tribulations. You got the sun being darkened, the moon not giving off her light. This is more things pertaining to the new moon. The new moon helped bring in the Feast of Trumpets. This is more Hebrewic literature, Hebrewic idioms, Hebrewic culture. But like I always say, if you don't study it, you won't know it. Therefore, you will come with an English American understanding saying, well, no man knows the day or the hour, not knowing anything that that's talking about. So now, let's go right back to what I was discussing. You see, y'all got me in teaching mode right now. See, so I can do this. So now, let's go through Revelation. Since I said Revelation was about 70 AD. Revelation, the book of Revelation, is not about our time. The book of Revelation was about first century. Let's go through some first century history and compare it to the book of Revelation. Let's see here. So now, everybody that has a Bible, you can open it up. And if you don't have a Bible, you just can read along because I have it right here on the screen. And we're going to read Revelation, and then we're going to compare it to some first century history when Jerusalem was being destroyed by Rome in the surrounding areas. So now, it says, the Revelation chapter 8, verses 7 through 9. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of the trees were burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. How was it burnt? Fire. Okay, guys, fire. Okay, that's why it says fire mingled with blood. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning, with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And the third part of the ships, did y'all know some ships were there? The ships were destroyed. So now, let's go to the works of Flavius Josephus. He was a Jew. He also was a priest. He also lived during the first century. He also saw Rome destroy Israel. He was not a Christian. He was a Torah-only follower, and he was a historian. So let's use somebody's account who was there, and let's see what he said. So now, the works of Flavius Josephus, chapter 3, War of the Jews. This happened between March and August of 67 AD. And let's see what he says. Now the auxiliaries, which were sent to assist the people of Sepphoris, being 1,000 horsemen and 6,000 footmen, under Placidus, the tribune, pitched their camp in 2 bodies in the great plain. The foot were put into the city to be a guard to it, but the horse lodged abroad in the camp. These last by marching continually one way or another, and overrunning the parts of the adjoining country, were very troublesome to Josephus and his men. They also plundered all of the places there were out of the city's liberties, and intercepted such as durst go abroad. On this account, it was that Josephus marched against the city, as hoping to take what he had lately encompassed with so strong a wall, before they revolted from the rest of the Galileans, that the Romans would have much ado to take, by which means he proved too weak and failed his hopes, both as to the forcing the place and as to his prevailing with the people of Sepphoris to deliver it up by him. By this means he provoked the Romans to treat the country according to the law of war. Nor did the Romans, out of the anger they bore at this attempt, leave off, either by night or by day, burning the places in the plain, and stealing away the cattle that were in the country, and killing whatsoever appeared capable of fighting perpetually, and leading the weaker people as slaves into captivity, so that Galilee was all over filled with fire and blood, nor was it exempted from any kind of misery or calamity. For the only refuge they had was this, that when they pursued, they could retire to the cities which had walls built them by Josephus. So we have the burning of the places of the plains, and then we have the city filled with fire and blood. So what do we have in the trumpets? We have hail and fire mingled with blood. We have the trees burnt up, the grass burnt up, the sea becoming as blood, the third parts of the ships destroyed. So we have the burning of the trees, the burning of the grass, the fire mingled with blood. So this is what some of this stuff looks like. But now, people are going to say, hey, you're missing something. You're missing something. What about, because people, you know how people is. What about the ships that were destroyed and the sea becoming blood? You skipped that, brother. So it can't be talking about that. Well, let's go through some more of the eyewitness accounts that Josephus saw. Now, hopefully, I don't have to start reading about all the way up here dealing with Joppa. So I want to start reading right here. Now, as those people of Joppa were floating about in the sea, in the morning there fell a violent wind upon them. It is called by those that sail there the Black North Wind. And there dashed their ships one against another, and dashed some of them against the rocks, and carried many of them by force, while they strove against the opposite waves into the main sea. For the shore was so rocky, and had so many of the enemy upon it, that they were afraid to come to land. Nay, the waves rose very high, that they drowned them, nor was there any place whither they could fly, nor any way to save themselves, while they were thrust out of the sea by the violence of the wind, as if they stayed where they were, out of the city by the violence of the Romans. And let's keep reading. And much lamentation there was when the ships was dashed against one another, and a terrible noise when they were broken to pieces, and some of the multitude that were in them were covered with waves, and so perished, and a great many were embarrassed with shipwrecks. But some of them thought that to die by their own swords was lighter than by the sea. So they killed themselves before they drowned, although the greatest part of them was carried by the waves and dashed to pieces against the abrupt parts of the rocks, insomuch that the sea was bloody a long way, and the maritime parts were full of dead bodies. For the Romans came up upon those that were carried to the shore and destroyed them, and the number of bodies that were thrown out of the sea were 4,200. The Romans also took the city without opposition and utterly demolished it. Wow. Did they go into this historic, when they was going through Revelation trying to tell you that it was about our time period, did they actually decide to, in fact, before I even make this statement, let's look at Revelation real fast. Let's see how Revelation starts off. And then we're going to go right back to history agreeing with the Bible. So now, this is what people don't go over dealing with Revelation. What happened? Where all my people go? Everybody was so abrupt by telling me that I was wrong. Where they go? Where all everybody I didn't had a debate with, and everybody trying to say that I didn't know what we was talking about, and full preterist is this and that. Where all the people at? But anyway, they was on here earlier looking, but then they just got off. I guess because they want to be stuck in futurism, and it doesn't matter what the Bible teach, as long as their elders tell them something, or as long as they want to believe it, then it's true. Forget what the Bible say, forget what Christ says, forget what history says. This Bible is about today's time. So I digress. Let me go back. Now let's look at Revelation 1, and hopefully y'all don't mind if I just read this. Revelation 1 and 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. So, when the book of Revelation was created, these things were shortly to come to pass. And then let's go to verse 1 and 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy. It's only one prophecy. So the book of Revelation is only one prophecy. It's a series of events happening in one prophecy. You can't stretch it out thousands of years. It was all supposed to happen back to back to back. Anyway, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. So he said they're going to come shortly, and the times is at hand. So when the book of Revelation was created around 66, 68 AD, those churches understood that the things written in the book of Revelation was shortly to occur. That time was at hand. It wasn't supposed to last 2,000 years into the future. It wasn't something that those 7 churches was receiving about a group of people living 2,000 years into the future. No, this was about things that was going to shortly come to pass. And why did he tell them? Because they were going to hear it, see it, experience it, talk about it, to prove that the Most High sent Christ and Christ was the Messiah. But anyway, so now let's go back to the PDF. So now let's see. What do we have here? Oh, we have some more. I can start at chapter 3, War of the Jews. And I want to start right here. As for those that endeavor to come to an actual, I guess I can start right here. As for the stones they threw at the Romans, they only made a sound one after another. For they threw them against such as were in their armor, while the Romans' darts could reach the Jews themselves. And when they ventured to come near the Romans, they became sufferers themselves before they could do any harm to the other, and were drowned. They in their ships together. Their ships together. As for those that endeavored to come to an actual fight, the Romans ran many of them through with their long poles. Sometimes the Romans leaped unto their ships. Who had ships? The Jews had ships. Unto their ships with swords in their hands, and slew them. But when some of them met the vessels, the Romans caught them by the middle and destroyed at once their ships and themselves who were taken in them. As for such as were drowning in the sea, if they lifted up their heads up above the water, they were either killed by darts or caught by vessels. But if in the desperate case they were in, they attempted to swim to their enemies, the Romans cut off either their heads or their hands, and indeed they were destroyed after various manners everywhere, till the rest being put to flight were forced to get upon the land, while the vessels encompassed them about on the sea. But as many of them were repulsed when they were getting ashore, they were killed by the darts upon the lake. And the Romans leaped out of their vessels and destroyed a great many upon the land. One might then see the lake all bloody and full of dead bodies, for not one of them escaped. So, this is what you call judgment. This is what you call judgment. But hold, there's more. There's more. Where all my people go? Where y'all at? Y'all don't want to? Am I boring y'all? Now that I'm bringing up some stuff, am I boring y'all? Is it? Should we go? Should we start arguing again? If I don't know what I'm talking about, and you know what you're talking about, and the Bible's a mystery, and you gotta have a specific spirit in order to understand it, and heathens this and heathens that, and is that what y'all want to talk about? Y'all don't want to know real Bible stuff? Oh man, everybody just left. I guess I'm boring everybody. But anyway, and it says, the coming of the Lord, this is the second seal. And now I want to see, this is what Matthew 24 was talking about. So I guess before, no, I'm going to stick here. Sorry, I'm gonna stick here. But this is what Matthew 24 was actually talking about. Matthew 24 dealing with the seals also. All this is about the same thing. But Revelation 6, 3 and 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat up thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword, the works of Flavius Josephus again, War of the Jews, August 66 AD, February, March 66 AD, and May 70 AD. Let's just read what it says. The harangues of John corrupted a great part of the young men and puffed them up for war. But as to the more prudent part, and those in years, there were not a man of them, but foresaw what was coming, and made lamentation on this account, as if the city was already undone. And in this confusion were the people. But then it must be observed that the multitude that came out of the country were at discord before the Jerusalem sedition began. For Titus went from, Gischala to Setates, I don't know, Sisates, I guess, and Vespasian from Caesarea to Jamnia and Azotus, and took them both. And when he put garrisons into them, he came back with a great number of people who were come over to him, until his giving them his right hand for their preservation. Y'all see their right hand? Don't forget about their right hand. Things given by the right hand. The beast, they had the mark in the right hand. Don't forget. But anyway, there were beside disorders and civil wars in every city, and all those that were quiet from the Romans turned their hands one against another. What happened? To take peace from the earth, and they should kill one another. And there was given him a great sword. What happened? They start turning their hands one against another. We see the same thing spoken of when Christ gave his prophecy, saying that the wax of love will, I think he said the wax of many, the wax of love would be free. I can't remember. Y'all know what I'm saying. Brothers was going to turn against brother, sons against daughters, blah, 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 this and that. This is also what Christ was prophesying. So all this goes together. But anyway, there was also a bitter contest between those that were fond of war and those that were desirous for peace. At the first, this quarrelsome temple caught hold of private families who could not agree among themselves. Sorry, y'all, we got to look it up. We got to. It's too insightful to not look up. So I think let's go into Matthew. Let's see if it's in Matthew 24 real fast. Matthew 24. Things that led to the end of the age and Christ's second coming and all that stuff. Let's see what it here. What it says. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to find it real fast. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So we have the love of many people waxing cold. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else too. Let me see if it's in Mark 13. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. So this was some of the things that they was looking for that dealt with the end of the age, the destruction of the temple, and Christ's second coming. So now let's go back to this. Sorry, y'all, I had to pull it. It was too insightful. So now, at the first, this quarrelsome temper caught hold of private families who could not agree among themselves, after which those people that were the dearest to one another break through all restraints with regard to each other. So don't you see the love of many waxing cold? Do you see these are family members fighting against each other? This is exactly what Christ was saying. And everyone associated, thank you, Brother Paul, and everyone associated with those of his own opinion and began already to stand in opposition one to another, so that seditions arose everywhere, while those that were for innovations and were desirous of war by their youth and boldness was too hard for the aged and prudent men. And in the first place, all the people of every place betook themselves to rapine, after which they got together in bodies in order to rob the people of the country. Don't you see the love waxing cold? Insomuch that for barbarity and iniquity, those of the same nation did no way differ from the Romans. No, it seemed to be a much lighter thing to be ruined by the Romans than by themselves. So don't you see what Jews are doing to themselves? This is prophecy. And I'm going to go to the third seal, and then I just end it with the third seal. I can keep going. Once again, this is a PDF. Anybody wants a PDF, all you got to do is inbox me your email address, and I'll send you the whole entire PDF. Once again, the book of Revelation was about 70 AD. It was about Christ's prophecy about the destruction of the temple. You can't get it about today's time. So now, and when he had opened the Revelation 6, 5, and 6, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou not hurt not the oil and the wine." So you got the works of Flavius Josephus, chapter 10, War of the Jews. Hey, y'all get ready to go to bed. May 70 AD. It says, I'm going to start right here. The indication they made use of whether they had not or had any or not was taken from the bodies of those miserable wretches, which if they were in good case, they supposed they were in no want at all of food. This is about the famine. But if they were wasted away, they walked off without searching any further. Nor did they, hey, y'all go to bed. Nor did they think it proper to kill such as these, because they saw they would very soon die of themselves for want of food. Many there were, hold on, y'all, hold on. Sometimes I have to get in the proximity of my children for them to listen. Hold on, give me 1 second. Bed. Thank y'all. Good night. Love y'all. No more talking. No. Nope. You do it. Sorry, y'all. Children, sometimes you got to get in proximity and to get them to act right. So now, wanted themselves for food. Many there were indeed who sold what they had for 1 measure, if it was of wheat, and if they were of the richer sort, but barley, if they were poor. What did he hear? In the midst, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. What do we have right here? A measure of wheat being sold to the richer, and barley to the poor. When these had so done, they shut themselves up in the inmost room of their house. So we have that, and then we have that see out there and see. Let me go there. I don't want to butcher it. I think it says see thou hurt not the oil and wine. And you have it right here. For the Roman emperors did ever both honor and adorn this temple, whereas this man, who was a Jew, seized upon what were donations of foreigners, and said to those that were with him that it was proper for them to use divine things, while they were fighting for the divinity without fear. and that such whose warfare is for the temple should live on the temple, of the temple, on which account he emptied the vessels of that sacred wine and oil which the priests kept to be poured on burnt offerings, and which lay in the inner court of the temple, and distributed among the multitude, who, in their anointing themselves and drinking, used each of them often as hen of them. So you see, they was using the oil for anointing and drinking. They wasn't hurting it. They was trying to use it for proper usage. So they wasn't hurting the oil and the wine. But you see that right there. They was going through the barley, that the oil and the wine. And like I said, and then I broke down that the measure of penny for a wheat thing. Because it says 3 measures of barley for a penny. And if people don't know what a penny is, it is actually a denarius. And it says it contains 10. A Roman silver coin in New Testament time. It took its name from being equal to 10 asses, a number after 217 BC increased to 16. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire, from the parable of the laborers in the vineyards and blah, 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 this and that. So you can see I still go on and on and on. And then we got the earthquakes, and then we got the unveiling of the 7. We got the solar eclipses. I mean, we got the 6th trumpet. I mean, all of this right here is historical information that goes with the Bible. That goes with the book of Revelation. See, look, we got the things dealing with Idumea and Judea. For those looking for the Basra and Idumeans. See, look, the Idumeans fell in with them. For the people that's looking for the Idumeans to be destroyed, it already occurred. So, look, all of this information. So, then we got all of the different signs that were seen dealing with the destruction of the temple. So this is what Christ was warning them about. This is what all of the prophets was telling them about that final war before Judgment Day. So, yes, everything has been completed. And once again, this is a PDF. If you want a copy of the PDF, I just go through it real fast just to show y'all the different things. Just in case people didn't know the Roman Empire, because for some reason people think that the Roman Empire was short. It wasn't vast. Y'all see, I put time. I mean, it took me almost a year to get all this straight. So, but this is all the information. You see, I got some of the breakdowns dealing with Matthew 24. You see Matthew 24, 6 and 7. Where am I at? Josephus. I haven't left first century yet. 7, first century. 7 and 8, first century. 9, first century. 11, first century. First century. The gospel preached to the world. First century. The abomination of desolation. First century. First century. All of this. 16, 17 of Matthew 24. First century. All of this is first century. First century. First century. First century. All of it. Look, first century. So we got the fulfillment. And then we got the 10 case studies of, thank you, Mr. Adam. I think it's Marshart, whatever. I got this from him. But this is the 10 case studies in Revelation that doesn't leave the first century. First century. Look, we got the Revelation, Ezekiel, prophecies. All this stuff is first century. You can't get past it. It's all first century things. So the Bible itself was completed in the first century. We can't get away from it. All the prophecies, all the things you're looking for, look at this stuff right here. I got the timelines of when everything happened. First century, first century, first century, first century, first century. And then I go to other prophecies that links Christ and all these prophecies to the first century. Y'all see the prophecies that I'm laying down. All these prophecies that I have cataloged. Like I said, it took me a year to do about all of this stuff to get all the information together. And not only do I got all of these prophecies, I also got some scriptures which I call non-canonical that actually touch on the last days too, which is first century, and I show that the fulfillment of those are in first century. So look at all this information. I mean, I put time and effort into all of this for people to understand what the Bible teaches, because I just didn't jump into full preterist and just believed it. I did research. I took the time and effort to listen to everything that Mr. Bell was saying, everything that Dunn was saying, everything that the other older guy was saying. I can't think of his name right now. Max King. I just didn't listen to the things and just said, okay, it sounded good. No, as y'all can tell, I put some work in it, some effort in it. Some effort. Look. This is effort. This is hunger. This is hunger. So I hit a lot of things. So I think I improved what I needed to prove, that the Bible is completed using what we're supposed to use. So now, hopefully, we all can understand that, and we can actually start teaching this kingdom message to get people in the kingdom, because the Bible itself is completed. No more prophecies has to be fulfilled. So now we're in the kingdom age. We're in the kingdom era. So we got to understand how to be citizens of that kingdom that comes not with observation. That's what we're supposed to be doing right now, folks. Not what people have us doing, or what people are teaching us to do, or etc. So all of the things dealing with the camps and dealing with the Christians and these self-taught people and these futurists and all this stuff. Get the correct gospel, the correct doctrine, so we can move forward. So before I end it, I want to play just a little bit more of this, and then we can call it a night. I'm just going to play a little bit more of it.
And focus his efforts on subduing Galilee. Field battles were virtually unheard of, given the huge advantage the Romans held, and most of the fighting was concentrated around fortifications. This resulted in particularly brutal treatment of any populations which did not submit immediately. Rome often acted particularly strict to make a point. During the 68 AD offensive in Judea, for instance, cities downstream of the Roman army learned of their approach not by messengers, but by the arrival of bodies floating down the Jordan River. The campaign ground to a halt with the news of Nero's death. The anarchy that followed was known as the Year of Four Emperors, and included a bid for power by Vespasian on July 1st, 69 AD. By the summer of 70 AD, he had come out the victor and set sail for Rome to claim his prize. Titus was left in command of the Judean campaign with instructions to put an end to the Jewish uprising. This, of course, meant the long-delayed assault on Jerusalem, home to the rebel leaders and the heart of the resistance. Titus began the Jerusalem campaign in the spring of 70 AD. His army of 4 legions was assembled in Alexandria.
Alright, so we had the 4 legions coming against Jerusalem, right? So in Revelation, in the vision, once you hear something about locusts coming up, and they look like that they had, in fact, let's see if we can just look at some of this imagery real fast. Just real fast. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were as if were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. So John the Revelator, seeing a vision, right, of people of the Roman army coming to destroy Jerusalem. That's exactly what he's saying. The Roman army coming to destroy Jerusalem. That's what it is. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions. So they knew what the Roman Empire looked like. They knew what the Roman army apparel looked like. So the seven churches would have understood this. It says, and they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. What did the let's see here, the breastplates of iron, and what did, let me see if I can hear. And their teeth were the teeth of lions, and they had breastplates as the breastplates of iron. So you go to well, you go to Deuteronomy 32 first. Deuteronomy 32, I believe, and this is the Song of Moses. And let's see here if I can find it. Let me go on my Bible real fast. It's easier to go through there. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for real fast. Deuteronomy 32 and 24. See, I can find my stuff real fast because I got it marked. Deuteronomy 32, 24. They shall be burnt with hunger. That's the famine. And devoured with burning heat. That's the fire. And with bitter destruction. And I will also send the teeth of beasts. We saw the teeth of lions, right? With the poison of serpents of the dust. And they had the sting of scorpions, correct? So, this Song of Moses, the Song of Moses is being displayed for the final time by the Roman army. This is the same thing that we see in kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, and etc. This is exactly what that is. So then you can also go to Daniel 7, dealing with that fourth beast, iron teeth. It's terrible, dreadful, terrible, lion's teeth, dreadful and terrible, and exceedingly, and strong exceedingly, and it had iron teeth. What else? We go to Daniel 2, and that feet was part of iron. Sorry, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron, Rome, part of clay, Israel. So, and then that's all to a stone was cut out without hands. That will be Christ coming with the kingdom. So, you got iron, you got the iron on his legs, and iron and clay. Now, iron will be Rome, the clay will be Israel. So, in Revelation, you see how he kept using iron? Y'all supposed to have these prophecies. I mean, this is all they had to do back in the days. Their whole literature, their whole law was the prophets. So they would have knew the prophet. They started learning these things when they was, I think, was it 6? So they would have understood all of this information. Even the other nations would have had access to the Torah by now because we had the Septuagint going around, which was a Greek copy. So everybody would have had copies of this. So they would have understood when they saw let me see, let me get that again. The locust horses, locusts like the shapes of locusts like into horses, crowns like gold, faces the faces of man because they were men, teeth of lion, that would be the teeth of beast, strong exceedingly, I mean scary looking. And then you had the breastplates of iron. Iron was the thing for Rome, dealing with Rome in Daniel. Iron was about that fourth beast, that fourth kingdom. And then you had the sounds of their wings were like the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. So he saw wings, but he heard chariots of many horses. So these are this is the war. This is the Roman army coming to destroy Jerusalem. That's all that is. So now let's keep going.
and marched north to Caesarea along the shoreline. Supporting his force were 23 cohorts of auxiliary infantry, 8 allies of cavalry, and numerous detachments of local troops provided by the region's client rulers. Historical records seem to claim that this force numbered around 60,000 men. These estimates imply that the core legionary troops made up around 35% of the army, the auxiliary troops about 32%, and the remaining local forces about 33%. Such a high proportion of local troops does raise some doubts on the accuracy of our sources. However, we may speculate that local rulers were eager to donate men to the war effort in a political bid to secure Rome's goodwill amidst a bloody revolt. The Roman commanders themselves may also have been eager to have additional troops at their side. While the local forces were surely not as reliable as the crack legionaries, they could take on many responsibilities of the army, and thus free up the elite troops to do what they did best. This would be especially important in the upcoming siege of a city as large and well fortified as Jerusalem. The Roman forces approached Jerusalem in separate marching columns due to the security and supply constraints of the Judean hill country. Titus led both the 12th and 15th legions by the most direct road, while the 5th Macedonica approached via Emmaus, and the 10th Fretensis approached via Jericho. On April 23rd, the lead units of the 12th and 15th legions arrived on the hills to the north of the city. That night, the 5th Macedonica arrived, and by morning, the rest of the army entered the battlefield. Before them lay the great city with gleaming temples and stout battlements. The city of Jerusalem is surrounded on 3 sides by steep ravines. To the east lies the Kidron Valley.
See, I got the Kidron Valley, spoken of, dealing with prophecy. I'm going to take them into the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Y'all see what the Valley of Jehoshaphat is right here. Where's, what am I looking for? Gehenna right here. We got Gehenna right here. Them thrown into Gehenna. All of the evil people and etc. been thrown into Gehenna, or into that grave or that hell, like. So you got Gehenna where all the dead bodies were supposed to be tossed at. You got the Kidron Valley. You got the Valley of Jehoshaphat. So you got all of these things dealing with Israel, where all the Roman legions came against. So, I mean, point blank period.
Valley.
To the west, the Gihon Valley, and sweeping around the south is the Hinnom Valley. A series of hills surround the area, including the famed Mount of Olives to the east. Ancient Jerusalem itself was built atop several key topographic features. The city incorporated 2 spurs of land with the Tyropaian Valley in between. Atop the eastern spurs to the Temple Mount and the Antonia Fortress. The heights of the western spur were occupied by the elites who had built the upper city during the Hashmonean and Herodian periods. In the middle of these 2 areas sprawled the more ancient and crowded lower city, which held most of the population. Both the upper and lower cities were enclosed by a wall, which was anchored on the flank by the massive fortifications around the Temple Mount. Inevitably, the population outgrew its bounds, and the second city was developed north of the first wall. This exposed position was soon surrounded by a second wall, which ran from the Antonia in the east to the Genoth Gate in the west. By the 1st century AD, yet another suburb had sprung up to the north, known as the New City. Once again, expansion necessitated fortifications, and in 41 AD, Herod Agrippa commissioned the construction of the third wall. This was an ambitious project with massive stone blocks meant to enclose a large area. It seems that the scale of the defensive works raised some suspicion amongst the Romans, who forced their client king to abandon the project before its completion. Over the course of the Jewish revolt, however, the people of Jerusalem managed to put the finishing touches on their third layer of battlements. By the time the legions arrived outside Jerusalem, the walls had been raised an additional 9 meters, and a series of square towers were built, projecting outwards. The combination of tough terrain and stout walls made for a formidable 3-layer defensive network. Additionally, the maze of narrow streets between the fortifications could be easily blockaded, while numerous underground water and sewage passages meant the defenders could emerge from any direction for a surprise attack on intruders. Bunkered within this massive, fortified city was a garrison of approximately 20,000 Jewish troops. However, these were not professional forces. Rather, they were a motley assortment of militiamen, refugees.
And we know the Jewish people didn't look like that. But hopefully we all have the point now. I think I can go ahead and call it quits for tonight. This is pretty much what the prophecies was all about. I mean, believe it or not, it's on you, but this is what the prophecies was all about. So, we got Bible proof, we got historical proof. So, if you are saying something different than what the Bible says, and then history also proves, because the Bible is history itself. So, inspired history as well as secular history, if you're teaching against that, then you are in error, not the Bible and not people that teach with it. So, hopefully that pretty much helped explain my position as well as some of our position out there. You can add me on YouTube, AOSD Chandler. This Assembly of Sound Doctrine Chandler. AOSD CHANDLER. If you want the PDF, inbox me and I will send it to you. I'd like to say a good shalom to everybody out there listening and everybody that's going to read this later on. Hopefully it all makes sense and you see my position thoroughly. So I plan on also still doing my series on the heavenly realm as well as the invisible heavenly Jerusalem, because we have a lot of information about it. And that's about it. Thank you all for listening. And hopefully this one takes and I can upload this one on my YouTube. But everything has been shown. So shalom. Hope everybody enjoyed tonight. And if you're off tomorrow, enjoy it. Spend time with your family. All praise to the Most High. Say a prayer for me, for yourself also. And let's learn about this kingdom. All right, let's see if I can stop this.